I thought love would be enough. That's what I told myself when I signed the papers, when I wrote the checks, when I ignored the voice in my head saying something wasn't right. Love would be enough to bridge the distance between who my son was and who he was becoming. But standing in that hospital room, watching the woman who'd almost destroyed everything, I realized love had never been the problem. Trust was. Subscribe if this story finds you, and tell me where in the world you're watching from. The call came at 2:47 in the morning, the kind of call that makes your heart stop before you even answer. I was dreaming about my late husband, Robert, the way I often did. In the dream, he was healthy again, laughing in our old kitchen, sunlight streaming through the windows. Then my phone shattered it all. "Mom!" My son Daniel's voice was tight with panic. "I need you to come to St. Mary's Hospital. It's Emma. She collapsed and they don't know why." I was dressed and in my car within minutes, my hands shaking on the wheel as I drove through empty streets. Daniel had married Emma 2 years ago, a whirlwind romance that had always felt slightly off to me, though I'd never been able to put my finger on why. She was beautiful, charming, successful. Everything you'd want for your son, except I'd never quite trusted her. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and fear. I found Daniel in the waiting room, his face grey, his hands clasped so tightly his knuckles were white. "What happened?" I asked, pulling him into a hug. "I don't know. We were at dinner with her parents, celebrating their anniversary. Emma went to the bathroom and didn't come back. When I went to check on her, she was on the floor, unconscious. The paramedics said something about poison." "Poison?" "They're running tests now. They think she ingested something toxic, but they don't know what or how." I sat beside him, my mind racing. Poison didn't just happen. Someone either took it intentionally or someone gave it to them. 3 hours later, a doctor emerged. "Mr. Hartley, your wife is stable. We've identified the substance. Oleander extract. A significant amount." "How did she ingest it?" Daniel asked. "That's what we're trying to determine. The police have been notified. This could be attempted suicide or attempted murder." I felt Daniel's whole body go rigid beside me. "My wife wouldn't try to kill herself. She has everything to live for." The doctor's expression was careful. "The police will want to speak with everyone who was at dinner tonight. They'll need to trace where the poison came from." After the doctor left, Daniel turned to me. His eyes were red. "Mom, I don't understand. Who would want to hurt Emma?" I didn't answer, because in that moment, something clicked into place. Something I'd been ignoring for 2 years. I had a very good idea who wanted to hurt Emma, and why. Let me back up. 2 years ago, Daniel brought Emma home for the first time. She was stunning, with dark hair and green eyes and a smile that lit up rooms. She was 28, 3 years younger than Daniel, and worked in real estate for a luxury firm downtown. "Mum, this is Emma," Daniel had said, his whole face glowing. "We met at a charity gala last month." 1 month. They'd known each other 1 month, and he was already looking at her like she hung the moon. We'd had dinner at my house. Emma had been perfect, complimenting my cooking, asking about family photos, laughing at my stories about Daniel as a child. She'd helped clear the table without being asked and insisted on doing the dishes. "She's wonderful," I'd told Daniel after she left, and I'd meant it. On the surface, Emma was everything you could want. But there were small things. The way she'd steered every conversation back to herself. The way she'd touched my wedding china and asked, almost casually, if it was valuable. The way she'd made a comment about my house being too big for one person, and how I should think about downsizing. Small things. Things you could easily explain away. Then, 3 months later, they were engaged. 6 months after that, married. The wedding was beautiful, expensive. Emma had very specific ideas about everything: the venue, the flowers, the guest list. "Mum, Emma thinks it would be better if we kept the wedding intimate," Daniel had told me when I'd asked about inviting some of our extended family. Just immediate family and close friends. Emma's guest list had 60 people. Mine had 12. At the reception, I'd overheard Emma's mother talking to a friend. "Emma's done well for herself. Daniel's family has money, and his mother just sold her business for millions." That had caught my attention. Not because it was untrue. I had sold my consulting business the year before for $4.2 million, but because Emma's mother had said it like it was Emma's accomplishment, not mine. After the wedding, Daniel and Emma bought a house, a beautiful Victorian in the historic district, far beyond what Daniel's architect salary could afford. "We got a great deal," Daniel had explained, and Emma's parents helped with the down payment. 2 months later, Daniel had come to me. "Mum, I hate to ask, but we're having some cash flow issues. The house needs more work than we thought. Could you loan us $50,000? We'll pay you back within the year." I'd written the check. Because that's what mothers do. They help their children. Then, 3 months later, another request. $30,000 for Emma's business venture, a boutique real estate firm she wanted to start. Then $75,000 when Daniel's architecture firm had a slow quarter and they couldn't make payroll. Then $40,000 for an investment opportunity Emma had found that was too good to pass up. In 18 months, I'd given them $195,000. Every time Daniel promised they'd pay me back. Every time Emma thanked me profusely, hugged me, told me I was the most generous mother-in-law in the world. And every time, I never saw a penny returned. I'd started to notice other things too. The way Emma had slowly isolated Daniel from his friends. How family dinners became less frequent. How Daniel always seemed stressed, tired, stretched thin. 6 months ago, I'd asked him point blank, "Daniel, is everything okay? You seem exhausted." "It's just work, Mum. And Emma's been under a lot of stress with her business." "How is her business going?" It's taking longer to get off the ground than we expected." I'd wanted to ask more, wanted to dig deeper, but I'd held back. Because I thought love would be enough. I thought if Daniel was happy, that was all that mattered. Now, sitting in that hospital waiting room, I realized I'd been a fool. The police arrived at 7 a.m. 2 detectives, one older man with grey hair and kind eyes, one younger woman with a sharp gaze. "Mr. Hartley, I'm Detective Morrison. This is Detective Chen. We need to ask you some questions about tonight." They interviewed Daniel for an hour. I sat outside the room, watching through the glass. Daniel looked destroyed, answering questions with trembling hands and a broken voice. When they finished with Daniel, Detective Morrison approached me. "Mrs. Hartley, we understand you were supposed to attend the dinner tonight but couldn't make it. Is that correct?" "Yes, I had a migraine. I called Daniel this afternoon to let him know." "Had you been to that restaurant before? Bellini's?" "Many times. It's one of my favorites." "And you were familiar with the table where the party was seated?" I frowned. "I suppose." Daniel mentioned they'd reserved the private room upstairs. Detective Morrison nodded, making notes. Mrs. Hartley, can you think of anyone who would want to harm your daughter-in-law? I hesitated. This was the moment. I could stay silent, keep my suspicions to myself, or I could tell the truth. Detective, I need to tell you something. But first, I need to know, where exactly did the poison come from? We're still investigating, but preliminary findings suggest it was in Mrs. Hartley's wine glass. The oleander was added to the wine before it was served. My stomach dropped. Was it just her glass? Or was it the whole bottle? Just her glass. Someone added it specifically to what she was drinking. I took a deep breath. Detective, I was supposed to be at that dinner. I was supposed to sit in the seat where Emma sat. That was my usual place at family dinners. Detective Morrison's expression sharpened. Are you saying you think someone tried to poison you, and Emma drank it by mistake? I'm saying I think someone wanted me dead, and Emma just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. They questioned me for 2 more hours. I told them everything. The money I'd given Daniel and Emma. The way Emma had slowly taken control of Daniel's life. The feeling I'd had for months that something wasn't right. Detective Chen pulled up Emma's financial records. What they showed made my blood run cold. Mrs. Hartley, your son and daughter-in-law are in significant debt. Credit cards maxed out, 3 months behind on their mortgage. According to these records, they're underwater by about $340,000. That's impossible. I gave them nearly $200,000. Where did you think that money went? Daniel said it was for the house, for Emma's business, for his firm. Detective Morrison showed me more documents. Emma's business never launched. The LLC was registered, but no actual business activity occurred. The money you gave them for the investment opportunity? That company doesn't exist. As for the house repairs, permits were pulled for about $15,000 in work. The rest is unaccounted for. I felt sick. Where did it go? We're trying to determine that. But Mrs. Hartley, there's something else you should know. Your son has a life insurance policy on you. $2 million. It was taken out 18 months ago. The room started spinning. Daniel wouldn't. The policy was purchased through Emma's insurance agent. Your son signed the paperwork, but Emma handled all the arrangements. That doesn't mean Daniel knew what she was planning. Detective Chen leaned forward. Mrs. Hartley, we need to consider all possibilities. Your son stands to inherit your estate, which we understand is substantial. Combined with the insurance payout, we're looking at over $6 million in motive. Daniel would never hurt me. What about Emma? I thought about Emma's smile, her compliments, her hugs, the way she'd called me the most generous mother-in-law in the world. I don't know, I whispered. But that was a lie. I did know. I'd known for months. I just hadn't wanted to see it. They let me go home around noon. I sat in my car in the hospital parking lot, staring at my phone. I had 17 missed calls from Daniel, 3 voicemails. I listened to the first one. Mum, where did you go? The police are asking me all these crazy questions about you and money and insurance policies. I don't understand what's happening. Please call me. The second. Mum, they're saying Emma might have tried to poison you. That's insane. Emma loves you. We love you. Please, I need to talk to you. The third. Mum, I'm scared. They won't tell me anything and Emma's still unconscious and I don't know what to do. Please. I deleted all three and drove home. My house felt too quiet. I made tea. I didn't drink and sat in my kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd hosted that first dinner with Emma, where I'd smiled and laughed and thought my son had found happiness. I pulled out my laptop and started digging. If the police could find Emma's financial records, so could I. It took me 3 hours and several calls to my own accountant, but I found it. A trail of transactions that painted a very different picture than the one Emma had shown us. The $50,000 for house repairs? $15,000 went to actual contractors. The rest went to credit card payments and cash withdrawals. The $30,000 for Emma's business? Deposited into a personal account in Emma's name only, withdrawn over 6 months for things like designer clothes, spa treatments, a week at a resort in Hawaii. The $75,000 for Daniel's firm? His firm's accounts never showed any deposit. The money had gone into the joint account Daniel and Emma shared, then immediately transferred to Emma's personal account. The $40,000 investment? That one was creative. Emma had created a fake company, complete with website and incorporation papers. The money went into an account for that company, but Emma was the sole owner and signatory. She'd withdrawn it all within 2 weeks. Emma had been systematically stealing from me, while making Daniel think they were handling their finances together. But did Daniel know? That was the question that kept me up that night, staring at my ceiling, replaying every conversation, every interaction, looking for signs. At 3 a.m., my phone rang. Daniel. "Mum, Emma woke up. She's asking for you." I didn't want to go. Every instinct told me to stay away, to let the police handle it, to protect myself. But I went, because I needed to look Emma in the eye and know the truth. She was in a private room, hooked up to machines that beeped steadily. Her dark hair was limp against the pillow, her skin pale. She looked fragile, vulnerable. She looked like a victim. Daniel sat beside her bed, holding her hand. He stood when I entered. "Mum." He hugged me tightly. "Thank God you're here." Emma's eyes were open, watching me. "Margaret, I'm so sorry you had to see me like this." I pulled up a chair, studying her face. "How are you feeling?" "Awful. The doctors say I'm lucky to be alive." Her voice was weak, but her eyes were sharp, alert. "They told me what happened. Someone tried to poison me." "Actually," I said carefully, "the police think someone tried to poison me. You just happened to drink from my glass." Emma's expression didn't change. "That's horrible. Who would want to hurt you?" "I was hoping you could tell me." Daniel frowned. "Mum, what are you talking about?" I kept my eyes on Emma. "I've been doing some research into our financial arrangements, the money I've given you over the past 2 years." "Mum, not now," Daniel started. "It's okay," Emma said, squeezing his hand. "Your mother has every right to ask questions." She looked at me. "I know we haven't paid you back yet. Things have been tighter than we expected. But we will. Every penny." "Where did the money go, Emma?" "Exactly where we told you. The house, my business, Daniel's firm." "Your business that never opened? The investment company that doesn't exist? The firm that never received a deposit?" Daniel's head whipped toward Emma. "What is she talking about?" "Daniel, your mother is understandably upset. The poisoning has made her paranoid." "I have bank statements," I said. "Transaction records. Evidence that you've been funneling my money into personal accounts and spending it on yourself. Nearly 200,000 gone, and you can't account for any of it." Emma's mask slipped for just a second. I saw calculation flash across her face, Then she started crying. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I just We were in so much debt when we got married. I was trying to fix it before Daniel found out. I thought if I could just pay off my credit cards, if I could just get us stable, I could pay you back, and no one would know." Daniel looked like he'd been slapped. "What debt? You told me you had student loans, but they were manageable." "I lied," Emma whispered. "I had $180,000 in credit card debt. Shopping addiction mostly. I was ashamed. I thought if I married someone stable, someone from a good family, I could fix it." "So you married me for money?" Daniel said flatly. "No, I married you because I love you. The money was just a bonus, a way to solve my problems." I leaned forward. "And when my money wasn't enough? When you were still drowning in debt even after stealing $200,000 from me? What was your next plan?" Emma's tears stopped. She looked at me with cold, clear eyes. "I don't know what you're implying." "The life insurance policy. $2 million. Payable to Daniel upon my death." Daniel stood up so fast his chair fell over. "What life insurance policy?" "The one Emma had you sign 18 months ago. Do you remember? She said it was just standard paperwork for beneficiaries on your joint accounts." I watched the memory dawn on Daniel's face. The papers Emma had slid in front of him while he was distracted, watching TV, eating dinner. Papers he'd signed without reading because he trusted his wife. "Emma," Daniel's voice was shaking, "tell me you didn't." "Didn't what? Take out an insurance policy? That's smart financial planning. It protects our future." "Tell me you didn't try to kill my mother." Silence. Emma stared at Daniel, then at me, then back at Daniel. "Of course I didn't. I'm the victim here. Someone tried to poison me." "Or," I said quietly, "someone tried to poison me, and you accidentally drank from my glass. The glass that was in my usual seat, at a dinner I was supposed to attend, but cancelled at the last minute." "This is insane," Emma said, but her voice had lost its conviction. "The police are checking the restaurant's security footage," I continued. "They're interviewing the staff. They're testing everything that was on that table. If someone tampered with my wine glass, they'll find out who." Emma's face had gone very pale. "I want a lawyer," she said. It took the police 3 days to build their case. The security footage showed Emma arriving at the restaurant an hour before everyone else, claiming she needed to set up for her parents' anniversary celebration. She'd been alone in the private dining room for 20 minutes. A waiter remembered seeing her near the wine glasses, thought she was just arranging them, making things perfect. They found a small vial in Emma's purse. Residue inside matched the oleander extract. Her fingerprints were the only ones on it. But the real evidence came from Emma's laptop. She'd been researching oleander poisoning for 3 months, reading about dosages, symptoms, how to extract the toxin from plants. She'd visited forums where people discussed undetectable poisons. She'd also been researching my daily routine, my favourite restaurants, the medications I took, the food allergies I had. She'd been planning to kill me for months. The only thing that had saved my life was a migraine that made me cancel dinner at the last minute. And the only thing that had exposed Emma's plan was her own desperation. When I'd cancelled, she'd decided to go through with it anyway, hoping I'd reschedule and she could try again. But she'd forgotten to move my wine glass. And in the chaos of final preparations, she'd sat in my usual seat. She'd poisoned herself. Detective Morrison explained it all to me in my living room a week later. Emma's being charged with attempted murder. The evidence is overwhelming. She'll be lucky to get anything less than 20 years. And Daniel? Your son had no knowledge of the plan. We're certain of that. Emma acted alone. But he signed the insurance papers. Under false pretenses. He thought he was signing beneficiary forms for bank accounts. Emma deceived him too. After the detective left, I sat alone in my kitchen. The same kitchen where this had all started 2 years ago. Where I'd welcomed Emma into our family and thought love would be enough. Daniel came to see me that evening. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. His eyes were hollow, his face drawn. "Mum, I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. I brought her into our lives. I married her. I let her steal from you." His voice broke. "I almost let her kill you." "Daniel, you didn't know." "I should have known. You tried to warn me, didn't you? All those times you asked about money, about how things were going. You knew something was wrong." I thought about all the times I'd bitten my tongue, all the concerns I'd swallowed, all the red flags I'd ignored because I didn't want to seem like an overbearing mother. I suspected something wasn't right, but I didn't know what Emma was planning. I thought she was just irresponsible with money. I never imagined that my wife was a murderer. We sat in silence for a long moment. "I'm filing for divorce," Daniel said finally. "My lawyer says it should be straightforward given the circumstances. And the house? We'll have to sell it. Use the proceeds to pay back our debts. I'll probably have to declare bankruptcy." He laughed bitterly. "I'm 31 years old and I'm starting over with nothing." "Not nothing. You have your career, your friends, your family." "Do I? Do I still have you?" I looked at my son, the little boy who used to bring me dandelions, the teenager who'd spent hours working on his college applications at this very table, the man who'd fallen in love with the wrong person and nearly lost everything because of it. "Daniel, you'll always have me. Always." He started crying then. Deep, broken sobs that shook his whole body. I held him the way I had when he was small, when nightmares woke him, or bullies hurt his feelings, or life felt too big and scary. "I'm so sorry, Mom, for everything. For not seeing what Emma was. For letting her take advantage of you. For being so blind and stupid and—" "You weren't stupid. You were in love. And Emma was very good at deception. I should have protected you." "You did. You called me that night. You made sure I was okay. You stood by me when the truth came out." I pulled back to look at him. "Daniel, Emma deceived both of us, but she failed. We're both still here. And that's what matters." The trial took place 6 months later. I attended every day, sitting in the gallery, watching Emma try to convince a jury that she was the victim, that I'd somehow framed her, that the evidence was planted. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, guilty on all counts. Emma was sentenced to 25 years. As they led her out of the courtroom, she looked at me one last time. No more masks, no more charm, just cold hatred. "You ruined my life," she hissed. "No," I said calmly. "You ruined your own life. I just refused to let you ruin mine." After the trial, Daniel and I had dinner at Bellini's, the same restaurant where Emma had tried to poison me. I'd suggested it deliberately, taking back the space, refusing to let fear dictate my life. "Are you sure about this?" Daniel had asked when I'd proposed it. "I'm sure. Emma doesn't get to steal my favorite restaurant along with everything else." We sat at a different table this time. Not the private room upstairs, but by the window overlooking the garden. The sommelier recognized us and offered his condolences. "That table upstairs," he said quietly. "We don't use it anymore, out of respect." "Thank you," I said. "But you should use it. Don't let one person's evil ruin something beautiful." Over pasta and wine, safe wine I'd watched, poured directly from the bottle, Daniel told me about his plans. "I've been going to therapy, working through everything. My therapist says I have a pattern of ignoring red flags in relationships, probably because I lost Dad so young and was afraid of being alone. My husband Robert had died of a heart attack when Daniel was 17. Sudden, unexpected, devastating. I think that's why I rushed into marriage with Emma. I wanted what you and Dad had, that partnership, that love. I thought if I just loved her enough, everything else would work out." "I thought the same thing," I admitted. "I thought love would be enough to make Emma a good person, to make you happy, to keep our family safe. But love isn't enough when the other person is using it as a weapon. What is enough? Truth, trust, honesty, all the things Emma didn't have." I reached across the table and took his hand. "Daniel, you're going to find someone wonderful someday. Someone who loves you for who you are, not what you can give them. But until then, you need to love yourself enough to see the red flags and walk away." "Is that what you did? With Emma?" "Eventually. But it took almost losing my life to see clearly. I hope you can learn from my mistake." We finished dinner and walked through the garden outside the restaurant. It was spring, everything blooming and green and alive. I thought about how close I'd come to never seeing another spring, to never having another dinner with my son. "Mum?" Daniel stopped walking and turned to me. "I know I've said this 100 times, but I need to say it again. I'm sorry. For all of it. For the money. For Emma. For almost—" "Stop," I said firmly. "Daniel, you've apologized enough. What I need now isn't more apologies. I need you to forgive yourself. And I need you to build a life you're proud of." "I don't know how to do that." "One day at a time. One good decision at a time. One honest relationship at a time." He nodded slowly. "I can try." That's all any of us can do. A year later, I sold my house. The big, beautiful house where I'd raised Daniel, where I'd hosted that first dinner with Emma, where I'd nearly died from her poisoning plot. I'd thought about keeping it, about not letting Emma's evil drive me from my home. But in the end, I realized I didn't want to live in a museum of painful memories. I bought a smaller place downtown, a condo with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city. Modern, bright, mine. Daniel helped me move. We spent a day packing boxes, sorting through decades of accumulated life. In the attic, we found his old-school projects, my wedding china, Robert's favorite books. "Do you want any of this?" I asked, gesturing to the china that Emma had once eyed so covetously. "Not the china, but Dad's books, if you don't mind." I handed him the box. "He'd want you to have them." We were loading the last boxes into the moving truck when Daniel's phone rang. He glanced at it and smiled. "It's Sarah. I should take this." "Sarah?" "A woman I met at my friend's barbecue last month. She's a teacher. We've been talking." Just talking. He grinned, and for the first time in 2 years, it reached his eyes. "So far. I'm taking it slow, doing things right this time." "Tell me about her." "She's kind, genuine. She volunteers at an animal shelter on weekends. She's terrible at cooking, and freely admits it." She laughed when I told her about my trust issues and said she has them too. He paused. Mum, she's nothing like Emma, in the best possible way. I'd like to meet her someday, when you're ready. Actually, she asked if she could help us move today. I said no because I thought it was too soon. But maybe next time. Maybe dinner at your new place? I thought about Emma's perfect first dinner. The compliments, the charm, the performance. Then I thought about a woman who'd offer to help someone move, who'd admit she was a bad cook, who'd laugh about trust issues instead of hiding them. I'd love that, I said. 3 months later, I hosted that dinner. Daniel and Sarah arrived with wine and grocery store flowers. Sarah wore jeans and a sweater, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She had a warm smile and direct eyes that met mine without calculation. Mrs. Hartley, thank you so much for having me. Daniel's told me so much about you. Please, call me Margaret, and thank you for coming. We cooked together, the three of us crowded in my small kitchen. Sarah burned the garlic bread and laughed about it. Daniel told embarrassing stories from his childhood. I watched them together and saw something I'd never seen with Emma. Ease, comfort. Two people who genuinely enjoyed each other's company without games or manipulation. After dinner, Sarah helped clean up while Daniel took a phone call for work. Margaret, she said as we loaded the dishwasher. I know about Emma, about what happened. Daniel told me everything. I stiffened, waiting for judgment or pity. I just want you to know, Sarah continued, that I understand if you're cautious with me. If you need time to trust me. What she did to your family, it's unforgivable. And I don't expect you to just welcome me with open arms. I studied her face. She looked nervous, but sincere. Sarah, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you want to meet me? Because you're important to Daniel, and because I believe you can tell a lot about a person by how they treat their family. She smiled. Also, honestly, I was terrified. Daniel speaks so highly of you. I wanted to make a good impression. You didn't bring an expensive wine or fancy appetizers? I can't afford expensive wine on a teacher's salary, and I thought grocery store flowers were better than showing up empty-handed. She paused. Was that wrong? Should I have… No, I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. It was perfect. It was honest. And it was. No performance, no calculation. Just a woman being herself, nervous and sincere and real. That night, after they left, I stood at my window looking out at the city lights. I thought about Robert, about how much he would have loved this new chapter, how proud he'd be of Daniel for learning from his mistakes, how he'd probably already love Sarah the way I was beginning to. I thought about Emma, serving 25 years in prison, and felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction. Just a distant sadness for a woman who'd had so many opportunities to choose differently and had wasted them all. Mostly, I thought about love, real love. The kind that didn't require you to make yourself smaller or give away pieces of yourself. The kind that built you up instead of tearing you down. I'd thought love would be enough, and I'd been right, in a way. But it had to be the right kind of love, the kind based on truth, respect, and genuine care. Not the kind Emma had offered, which was just manipulation wearing love's clothes. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. Sarah really likes you. She said you're the coolest mum she's ever met. I think I might be falling for her, Mum. For real this time. I smiled and typed back. She's wonderful. Take your time. Do it right. And Daniel, I'm proud of you. Love you, Mom. Love you too. I set my phone down and poured myself a glass of wine. Not from Bellini's, just a simple bottle from my fridge. I raised it in a silent toast to Robert, to second chances, to the family we'd built, and the family Daniel was beginning to build now. Love wasn't enough on its own, but combined with wisdom, boundaries, and the courage to see people as they really were, instead of who we wanted them to be. That was everything. 6 months later, Daniel called with news. Mum, I need to talk to you about something important. My heart jumped. After everything we'd been through, important conversations still made me nervous. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I just wanted to tell you in person, but I can't wait. Sarah and I are moving in together. I exhaled. That's wonderful news. Are you sure? I know after Emma you might be worried. I'm not worried. Sarah is nothing like Emma. And more importantly, you're nothing like the man who married Emma. You've grown. You've learned. You're being careful and thoughtful. We talked about it for months before deciding. Sarah wanted to make sure we were ready, that I was ready. We're even going to couples therapy preventatively, just to make sure we're building things on a solid foundation. Couples therapy before problems arose. That was so different from his relationship with Emma, where red flags had been ignored and problems swept under the rug. I'm happy for you, Daniel. Truly. There's something else. Sarah wants to sign a cohabitation agreement. She insisted on it. Said she wants everything clear and legal so there's no confusion about finances or expectations. I felt tears prick my eyes. Sarah was protecting both of them, making sure history didn't repeat itself. She sounds very wise. She said she learned from her parents' divorce, watched them fight over money and property for years. She never wants to do that to someone she loves. When can I see you both? I want to celebrate. How about Sunday dinner? Sarah's making her grandmother's lasagna. She promises it won't be burned this time. I laughed. I'll bring dessert. And Daniel? I really am proud of you. Not because you found someone new, but because you found yourself first. Sunday dinner became a regular tradition. Every week, the three of us would gather at either my place or theirs, cooking together, talking, laughing. Sometimes Sarah's sister would join us, or Daniel's friends from work. It felt like family in the best way. Chosen, authentic, real. One Sunday, about 8 months after they'd moved in together, Sarah pulled me aside while Daniel was grilling on their balcony. Margaret, I need to ask you something. Of course. She looked nervous, twisting her hands together. Daniel doesn't know I'm asking this, so please don't say anything yet, but I wanted to talk to you first, out of respect. My heart started beating faster. What is it? Daniel and I have been talking about getting married. Nothing definite, just discussing what that might look like for us. And I realized that after everything that happened with Emma, you might have concerns, fears. I wanted you to know that I understand that, and I wanted to promise you something. Sarah, you don't have to. Yes, I do. She met my eyes. Margaret, I will never ask you for money. I will never manipulate Daniel. I will never come between him and his family. And if I ever do anything that makes you uncomfortable or worried, I want you to tell me, directly. Because I'd rather have an awkward conversation than let resentment build. I felt tears welling up. Sarah, you don't need to promise me anything. I trust you. I know. but I also know that Emma broke that trust in a terrible way, and I want you to know that I see you. I see how much you love Daniel, and I promise to always respect that." I hugged her then, this woman who'd walked into our damaged family and helped heal it through simple honesty and kindness. "Sarah, Daniel is lucky to have you, and so am I." When Daniel proposed 3 months later, he called me before asking her, "Mum, I'm going to propose to Sarah this weekend. I wanted you to know first, and I wanted to ask if you'd be okay with me using Grandma's ring." My mother's engagement ring, the one I'd worn after Robert proposed, the one I'd planned to give to Daniel for Emma but had held back at the last moment, some instinct telling me to wait. "I'd be honoured," I said. "Grandma would have loved Sarah." "Mum," I also wanted to say something. "I know the last time I got married, I rushed everything. I didn't think about you or what you might need or how it would affect our family. This time is different. Sarah and I want you involved in everything, the planning, the decisions, all of it. This is our family's celebration, not just ours. Daniel, it's your wedding. You and Sarah should do what makes you happy. We will. And what makes us happy is having you there with us. Really there. Not just invited, but included." The engagement party was at my condo. Small, intimate, just close friends and family. Sarah's parents were there, warm and welcoming. Her sister gave a toast about how Daniel had made Sarah happier than she'd ever seen her. I stood up with my glass of champagne and looked at Daniel and Sarah, holding hands, glowing. "I'm not going to give a long speech," I said. "I just want to say that 3 years ago, I learned a hard lesson about trust and love. I learned that love isn't enough on its own. It needs honesty, respect, and courage to build something that lasts. Sarah, Daniel, watching you two together has taught me something else. It's taught me that real love isn't about perfection. It's about two people choosing each other every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I'm so grateful that you found each other, and I'm proud to call you both my family." Everyone clinked glasses. Sarah was crying happy tears. Daniel squeezed my hand as I sat back down. "Thank you, Mom," he whispered, "for not giving up on me, for not giving up on us." "Never," I said. The wedding was everything Emma's wasn't. Smaller, simpler, filled with genuine joy instead of performance. Sarah wore a dress she'd found at a consignment shop and altered herself. The flowers were seasonal and local. The venue was a small garden owned by a friend. I helped Sarah get ready the morning of the wedding, just the two of us in a sunny room, her wedding dress hanging on the door, her hands shaking slightly as she tried to do her makeup. "I'm so nervous," she admitted. "Not about marrying Daniel. I'm completely sure about that. Just about the ceremony. All those people watching." "There will be about 40 people there," I said gently, "and every single one of them loves you and Daniel. No one is judging. No one is waiting for you to make a mistake." "What if I trip walking down the aisle?" "Then Daniel will help you up, and you'll laugh about it for the rest of your lives." I zipped up her dress. "Sarah, this day is about starting your marriage. Everything else is just decoration." She turned to face me, beautiful in her simple dress, her hair in soft waves. "Margaret, I wanted to ask you something. I never met my grandmother. She died before I was born, and my mum's mum isn't well enough to travel. I was wondering if you might be willing to sit in the grandmother's seat during the ceremony. If that's not too forward or weird or I would be honored, I said, my voice thick with emotion. At the ceremony, I sat in the front row next to Sarah's parents. Watched Daniel stand at the altar looking happier and more peaceful than I'd ever seen him. Watched Sarah walk down the aisle with her father, her face radiant. Their vows were simple and honest. No flowery speeches or elaborate promises. Just two people committing to love each other, support each other, choose each other every day. When the officiant said, "You may kiss your bride," and Daniel dipped Sarah dramatically, making everyone laugh, I felt something release in my chest. A weight I'd been carrying since Emma, since the poison, since all of it. My son was going to be okay. We were going to be okay. At the reception, during dinner, Sarah clinked her glass and stood up. I know traditionally the bride and groom thank everyone for coming, and we do. We're so grateful you're all here. But I wanted to specifically thank someone who's become incredibly important to me over the past 2 years. She looked at me. Margaret, when Daniel told me about his past, about Emma and everything that happened, I'll admit I was intimidated to meet you. I thought you'd be suspicious of me, guarded, maybe even hostile. But from that first dinner at your place, you welcomed me with open arms. You gave me a chance to prove myself. You never made me feel like I had to pay for someone else's sins. I felt tears streaming down my face. You've taught me what real family looks like. Not perfect, not without scars, but honest and supportive and full of love. And I just wanted to say thank you for raising an incredible man, for being patient with us as we figured things out, and for letting me be part of this family. Everyone applauded. Daniel was crying too. Sarah raised her glass. To Margaret, the strongest woman I know. To Margaret, everyone echoed. I stood up and hugged Sarah, this daughter I'd gained not through manipulation or deception, but through genuine connection and mutual respect. Thank you, I whispered, for seeing my son, really seeing him, and for loving him the way he deserves. Thank you for trusting me, she whispered back. The reception lasted late into the evening. Dancing, laughter, joy. No drama, no tension, just celebration. As the night wound down, I found myself standing at the edge of the garden, looking up at the stars. Daniel came up beside me. Penny, for your thoughts? I was just thinking about your father. How much he would have loved today. How much he would have loved Sarah. I think about him a lot lately. About what he'd say about Emma. About the poisoning. About all of it. What do you think he'd say? Probably that he was glad I woke up before it was too late. That he was proud of me for doing the work to heal. That he approved of Sarah. Daniel put his arm around me. And he'd definitely tell you that you're a badass for surviving a murder attempt and still showing up for Sunday dinners. I laughed. Your father's language was never that colourful. No, but his meaning would be. Daniel squeezed my shoulder. Mum, I know I've said this before, but I need to say it again. Thank you for not letting Emma destroy our family. Thank you for fighting for me, even when I didn't know I needed saving. That's what mothers do. No, that's what exceptional mothers do. And you're the best one I could ask for. We stood there together, father and son under the stars, until Sarah came to find us. There you are. They're about to cut the cake, and I refuse to do it without my husband. Daniel kissed the top of my head. Come on, Mum. Let's go get some cake. We walked back toward the lights and music together. 3 people who'd survived darkness and found their way back to light. A family rebuilt on truth instead of lies. I thought about Emma, still in prison, still paying for her choices. I didn't wish her ill, but I didn't wish her well either. She was simply part of our past now, a lesson learned at a terrible cost. But here, now, watching Daniel and Sarah feed each other cake while their friends cheered, I felt nothing but gratitude for survival, for second chances, for love that was real and honest and strong enough to weather storms. I'd thought love would be enough, and I'd been wrong, but I'd also been right in a way I hadn't understood then. Love wasn't enough on its own. But when combined with wisdom, boundaries, honesty, and the courage to face hard truths, that kind of love was everything. That kind of love could heal anything, and that kind of love was what I saw in my son's eyes when he looked at his new wife. 2 years later, I became a grandmother. Daniel called me at 4 a.m., his voice shaking with joy and exhaustion. "Mum, she's here. Lily Margaret Hartley, 7 pounds, 6 ounces. Perfect." I drove to the hospital as the sun rose, my heart so full it ached. In the hospital room, Sarah held a tiny bundle wrapped in pink. Daniel sat beside her, looking shell-shocked and amazed. "Want to meet your granddaughter?" Sarah asked, smiling. I took Lily in my arms, this tiny, perfect human named partly after me. She had Daniel's nose and Sarah's dark hair. She yawned and opened her eyes, looking at me with that unfocused newborn gaze. "Hello, Lily," I whispered. "I'm your grandmother. I'm going to tell you all about your grandfather someday, and I'm going to love you so much." Daniel came to stand beside me. "Mum, Sarah and I talked. We want you to be Lily's primary babysitter if you're willing. We trust you completely. Trust. That word that Emma had shattered and Sarah had helped rebuild. I would love nothing more." Over the next months, Lily became the center of our family. I watched her every Thursday while Sarah worked and Daniel had late meetings. We had a routine: bottles and naps and tummy time, reading books even though she was too young to understand, singing songs my mother had sung to me. One Thursday afternoon, Sarah came to pick Lily up and found us on the floor together, Lily giggling as I made silly faces. "You're a natural," Sarah said, scooping up her daughter. "I've had practice." "I know Daniel was your only child. That must have been lonely sometimes." "Sometimes, but quality over quantity, as they say." Sarah hesitated, then said, "Margaret, I wanted to ask you something. Daniel and I have been talking about having another baby, and we were wondering if you might want to be in the delivery room this time. You missed Lily's birth, and if you want to be there for the next one." "I'd love that," I said, touched. Emma had made sure I was kept at a distance during their relationship. Sarah continually found ways to bring me closer. "There's something else." Sarah shifted Lily to her other hip. "We're thinking about names. If it's a boy, we're considering Robert, after Daniel's father. Is that okay with you?" I felt my eyes fill with tears. "Sarah, that would mean the world to me." 15 months later, I stood in the delivery room holding Sarah's hand while she brought Robert Daniel Hartley into the world. Daniel cut the cord, tears streaming down his face. They placed the baby on Sarah's chest, and we all cried together. "He's perfect," I whispered. "Just like his grandmother said he'd be," Sarah said, smiling at me. 5 years after the poisoning, I got a letter. Prison mail. From Emma. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. Part of me wanted to throw it away, unopened. But curiosity won. Dear Margaret, I know you probably never want to hear from me again. I understand that. But I've been doing a lot of therapy in here, a lot of thinking. I wanted to write to you, not to ask for forgiveness, but to try to explain. I grew up poor, really poor, the kind where you wear the same clothes every day and hope no one notices, where you go to bed hungry more nights than not. When I got older, I became obsessed with security, with never being poor again. I know that doesn't excuse what I did. Nothing excuses trying to murder someone. But I want you to understand that it wasn't personal. I didn't hate you. I barely knew you. You were just an obstacle to the security I desperately wanted. I've lost everything because of my choices, my freedom, my reputation, any chance at a normal life. I'll be 53 when I get out of here. No career, no family, nothing. I heard through my lawyer that Daniel remarried, that he's happy. I'm glad. He deserved better than me. I don't expect you to respond to this. I just wanted you to know that I think about what I did every day. And I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. Emma. I read the letter twice, then folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'd share it with Daniel. Maybe I wouldn't. But I felt nothing reading it. No anger, no satisfaction, no pity. Just a distant sadness for a woman who'd had so many opportunities to choose differently. That evening, Daniel and Sarah brought the kids over for dinner. Lily, now 5, helped me set the table while chattering about her day at kindergarten. Robert, 3 years old and full of energy, built block towers for the sole purpose of knocking them down. Grandma, when I grow up, can I be an architect like Daddy? Lily asked. You can be anything you want to be, I said. Even an astronaut? Even an astronaut. Or a dinosaur? I laughed. Well, that one might be harder, but we can try. Over dinner, Sarah told us about a promotion she'd gotten at work. Daniel shared that his firm had won a major contract. They held hands across the table, their comfortable affection obvious. After the kids were in bed, the 3 of us sat on the porch with wine. Mum, I got a weird call today, Daniel said. From Emma's lawyer. She wanted me to know that Emma wrote you a letter. She wanted to make sure it didn't upset you. I got it this morning. And? And I read it. She apologized. Tried to explain. It doesn't change anything, but I think she genuinely regrets what she did. Do you believe her? Sarah asked. I believe she regrets getting caught. Whether she truly understands the harm she caused? I don't know. And honestly, it doesn't matter. Emma is her own consequence now. Daniel nodded slowly. I used to wonder if I'd ever be able to forgive her for lying to me, for using me, for trying to kill you. But I've realized I don't need to forgive her. I just need to move on. And I have. You really have, I said, looking at him. The haunted look that had lived in his eyes for years after the trial was gone. In its place was peace. I have you both to thank for that, Daniel said, squeezing Sarah's hand. Sarah for showing me what real love looks like. Mum for never giving up on me, even when I'd given up on myself. We're family, Sarah said simply. That's what family does. As I got ready for bed that night, I thought about Emma's letter, about her apology and explanation, about the life she'd thrown away chasing security that didn't exist. I thought about love, real love, and how it had saved us all. Not the desperate, grasping love Emma had pretended to feel, but the steady, honest love that Daniel and Sarah built together. The unconditional love between parent and child the chosen love of family. I'd thought love would be enough, and I'd learned it wasn't. Not on its own, but combined with truth, trust, and the courage to see clearly. That kind of love was enough to heal anything. That kind of love was enough to build a life on. That kind of love was enough. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters,